thought I'd catch a firefly and hold on to the light, but I never even tried. I just watched it fly into the night. I fell in love that way at the Memorial Day parade. Forgot about the blue and gray as I just watched her walk away. All the big shots sit on the steps of St. Patrick's, watching the show go by. And if the flying man chases elephants, there's no better reason to say hi. But if the influence leads to decadence, I won't be eloquent tonight. And all the big shots sit on the steps of St. Patrick's, watching the show go by.
Hello.
How's it going?
It is going great. Thank you for that beautiful song.
Thanks for inviting me.
You are welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the UF Art and Culture Show. I am Sharinda, your host, and you just heard the marvelous words and music of Mr. Jason LeVasseur, who is a dear friend. I was thinking about this morning, getting ready for work. We have been friends and pals for over 18 years.
That's amazing.
I know,
That's
because
amazing.
You've been in this business 25 years.
I have, yeah.
So I was part of that beginning.
That's exciting.
It is,
Yeah.
and that is original, and it's actually charted. You've done some great things with that song.
Thank you. Yes, I like the song. I like to play it, and thank you for asking me to play it.
It's one of my absolute favorites.
That's awesome.
So you have done amazing things in a short amount of time, and those are the people I love to be friends with, because
Thanks.
if you're doing great things in a short amount of time, you're going to make the best of your time and do greatness forever. So
Hopefully.
Yes, you will.
Hopefully to continue, yes.
And so we're going to talk about a little bit of
Okay.
that, because in addition to being a songwriter and an arranger and a performer in that route, you also have some really special talents when it comes to Youth of America.
Youth of America, sure, yeah. I do work with the Youth of America in a
camp setting.
In a summer camp. I'm a program director of a summer camp in Maine. I take the guitar with me. I do write songs all the time. I write songs throughout the year when I'm traveling from school to school, working with high school students and college students as a speaker and performer. But music is really the foundation of sort of
who
all
you
my
are.
messages. Yeah, it is.
And a lot of times people hear camp counselor and they're like, oh, he plays all the time, not just music, but he is playing at life. And that's kind of true. You take what you do seriously, but you've learned how you can play while you're doing that and have fun and enjoy life.
Yes, very intentionally. Those are intentional decisions even before college, when I was in high school.
And the camp that you are directing now, this is near and dear to your heart, because you became friends with the camp when you were a child.
I was a camper, yes. Yes. And I don't want to take credit for being the director. I'm one of the program directors.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Someday, though. Someday, maybe I'll get a my own clipboard and be able to walk around
Your own
with
whistle.
my own whistle. Yeah. Right now,
The fun little camp
I
shorts.
have a community clipboard. Yeah.
So, but that was something you were introduced to as a child.
As
yourself.
a 9-year-old, I flew from Belgium, where my family was living at the time, as an unaccompanied minor. My parents put me on a plane.
And said, go to Maine. Good
Go
luck,
to Maine,
kid.
yeah, go to Maine. But my father's from Maine, and my mother went to the sister camp. So it was there was a family tradition there, and it was something that I fell in love with. And as a teenager, I was then a counselor in training and a young counselor. And I knew at that time that I wanted to continue to go to summer camp, and I tried to figure out a career that would allow me to do that. So I studied to be a teacher.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say. So let's segue into what you went to college for, which was education.
Education, I did. I went to college for education, and at the same time, my hobby was playing music, and I was in multiple bands throughout. I actually was when I started college, was on scholarship as a drummer, as a jazz drummer. Didn't start playing guitar till my first year of college in the residence halls, learning from friends. But then by my senior year, I was playing guitar and singing and playing drums in some bands, and I was in 6 different bands in that last semester and student teaching.
And so you were thinking, if I go to college and get a degree in education, I have a fascination and a love for sports and encouraging others. So maybe I can be a coach for 3 of the 4 seasons. And then in the summertime, in between prepping for the next year of academia, I will go ahead and be a camp counselor.
Camp counselor, yeah.
So I get to do everything I love, and I'm tailoring and creating my own career here. And maybe the universe had a little bit different design, but your dream came true.
Yeah, I suppose, yes, you're correct.
So where did you graduate from? What university?
A school in North Carolina called
And it was-
Wake Forest University.
And you majored in education, but
English, secondary English.
Yes.
I was supposed to be, like Sting, a high school English teacher. And maybe that was something I thought of when I was picking a major, because I never thought I'd be a professional musician, but it was always there as something. I guess even as a middle school student, I had fantasies about being in rock and roll videos or being on big stages with big crowds clapping for me. So I always had this background fantasy and never really considered that career-wise it was a possibility, because I really knew that I was going to be a camp counselor, and I knew that I was going to be a high school teacher, and I knew these things. The music was something I did for fun.
and to blow off steam and not take super serious, but serious enough to learn the craft.
Right, right. And it was because it was really fun, and some of it came naturally.
Yes.
As a drummer, I found that.
Well, and your stage presence is very natural.
Thank you.
You have, and I'm sure that our viewers are picking up on that, you have that natural gift of making people feel very comfortable. You come across not taking yourself super serious, but I know in the back gears, everything's serious. Everything's got a purpose. And there are entertainers that pay thousands of dollars to try and learn how to do that. And that's probably a gift that you inherited with how your family chose to raise you, which was you weren't in one country, one state, one neighborhood. You had exposure to many things that gave you permission to expand, take things seriously, but don't take yourself seriously, maybe.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think that I was oftentimes used humor as a way to meet people and to
when
make
language
new
was
friends.
maybe a
when
barrier.
language was a barrier, I could still make faces and joke around and do maybe physical comedy. And as a songwriter, I started writing songs as soon as I started playing guitar. And I don't think I actually took myself seriously as a songwriter. I wrote serious songs, but I never thought of myself as a songwriter until my second CD came out. And folks would say, we played your song at our wedding, or somebody even played one of my songs at their child's birth. And I didn't take myself seriously until people
gave you that permission.
Yeah, because I was just doing something I like to do, and not taking myself so seriously.
But that's what made you so good.
Perhaps it did. Yeah, I was. Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah. I was
Speaking
just
of
doing.
not
I was
being serious.
I was doing what I liked.
Yeah.
I was creating.
And
pieces.
so that pressure wasn't there. You didn't have to succeed because it was something that you were enjoying.
Right, and fortunately, the pressure has never been there.
But yet, the fantasies of being in front of those large crowds, they came true.
Yes.
You have had some amazing experiences,
I've had some
with
amazing experiences,
with some really cool musicians, and this is going to be the uncomfortable time when I ask you to please brag and name drop, because it's amazing what you've had the opportunity to do over the years.
It's been fun. I've been very fortunate and played some very big events as an opener,
which still counts. There's
counts.
thousands of
Still
people
counts.
there, and they're
Thousands, many thousands.
and they are focused on drinking their beer and you, maybe.
Sure. I think one of the, maybe I'll call it a gift, just is the ability to win over a crowd that doesn't want me to be on stage. Because as an opening
And
act,
that's an it factor.
Take for example the Roots. I opened for the Roots in Boston one time to a sea of hip hop fans, and I was a dude with an acoustic guitar, and they were not interested in me.
Right.
And to date, that was the biggest CD sales of any show I've ever done, because I won the crowd over through my music and my storytelling, and not being offended.
And not trying to prove something.
No, because I knew before I walked on stage that they weren't there to see me. And there are other examples of playing with Ludacris in Massachusetts also, coincidentally, where there was a crowd of Ludacris fans, and I was the opener, and
they were
that
like,
turned
"What?"
into a great show,
Yeah.
into an amazing show. Other ones that were maybe would seem more logical were, my band opening for Dave Matthews, or even playing a festival of the Allman Brothers. But the list is long because I have been playing for a long time. And one of the things in this, if there's anybody watching who's in a band or an artist, you have to be good, but you really
Network.
need to be easy to work with.
Yeah.
And I think
Flexibility is very
I get
important.
invited to do a lot of events because it's very easy to bring me in because it's going to be
The
fun.
reputation precedes you.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So musicians out there in the world, just be nice. Just be nice.
Be nice. It's so important.
Yeah.
And then we'll be friends for 18 and 25 years.
Practice. Get good at what you do.
That would be good too.
Get good at what you do, but you're not that good. I mean, I'm not. Nobody's that good.
Right,
That's
right.
my point. Is like keep it in perspective. I think that there's a dedication. The more and more musicians that I meet who are amazing, and the more famous people that I meet, the more humble they are, because they realize they some of them have a natural gift to do something, but most of them actually just worked really hard.
And they were at the right place at the
Yeah,
right time.
timing has a lot to do with it. Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So we've talked about music, we've talked about your education, we've talked a little bit about camp. One of the things that I love about your story is that even with how you tell your story, you don't take yourself so seriously, because you say, well, I thought about taking a year off, do the music thing, do the camp thing, then I'll go and start teaching. And that was 25 years ago. And you're still taking the year off.
Still taking a year off.
And I love that, because
Yeah.
that means you're still loving what you're doing, but you've expanded so that you are doing education.
Yeah.
And in that light, you have had an amazing opportunity. You built relationships and friendships and trusts with schools through the music aspect. But then you were able to go back and say, I've been traveling across this country and in other parts of the world, and I know you've worked with military also, and I'm seeing vibes, I'm seeing ebb and flows of what's working and what's not, what stresses out students, and because I have a background in education, I can create a lesson plan, I can create programs, I can be flexible, I can come in and I can talk with them. You already know I know how to communicate with them through music. Right. And I love that about you, because you have taken your education and you've created your own classroom. So in going into the keynote speaking, or I know that in past we've worked with you for an entire weekend at one time where you do multiple ed sessions.
At the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
The first time ever that a conference was held there, yes.
And I'm happy to say that we were there together.
That was
as a
really
musician
special.
To say that I spoke.
And sang, performed on that stage,
yes,
yeah.
I did.
And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Even when you bring in the education, you remind them that there are so many aspects to that box. It's just not lecture. There can be music, there can be laughter, there can be interaction, there can be tangibles. So let's talk about that a little bit. And you have been to, and correct me because I might get the number wrong, it's like 2,500 or 3,500 schools.
I would say at this point, let's just go with 3,000, but not 3,500.
Okay,
let's go with
so
3,007.
Okay, 3,007.
7, yeah.
But that's saying lots of schools are bringing you back on a
Yes.
regular basis.
That's three. I think the last time that my booking agent really did
the numbers.
But that doesn't count the number of performances.
Right.
That's not the number of performances.
That's not
That's unique.
for
that's
the
unique venues.
for the
3,000
education.
unique venues.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a lot.
And so that says that you have that personality that you need, for educating.
And also just to stay alive on the road, to stay healthy, and to keep it in perspective. I mean, there was one year where between January and May, I was on 100 campuses in one semester.
And there's 365 days in a year.
365 days in the year, but I only did that in January, February, March, April, like in 5 months.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of.
And that wasn't all you were doing, because you're also a father and a husband.
Yep, I am.
And that's talking about staying grounded. That's something that I absolutely love about you too.
Thank you.
You do everything you can to be home on Sundays with your girls, and your girls are your 2 daughters and your wife.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of entertainers out there that understand that grounding is going to make the absence a little less painful.
Yeah, I think
it's still painful. It's still tough. It's still a sacrifice.
But I think that would apply to any work that you do, that you have to prioritize your family and your friends and your own personal well-being in it. And I say that it's okay to selfishly make decisions for yourself. And the way that I frame that is that if you're on an airplane, the flight attendant tells you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first when it falls out of the ceiling, because you've got to take care of yourself to take care of your family who may be sitting next to you. So yes, I want to be home when my daughters are not in school, because if I'm home on a Monday, they're not home. They come home and they're
and you're an active swim team dad.
Yep.
You know, and so that's great that you're not just there sitting down being there. You're active. You're on the boat with them. You're doing things. You're building memories and relationships.
Doing the best I can.
And that's all that's asked of anyone. Because but you're the only artist in all the people I know that has that commitment, and that says a lot.
It's interesting
because I know a lot of artists.
As I was starting, yes, and I looked up to many of those artists, and who we probably know in common, and all of the really successful college touring performers who I met didn't have families, and it wasn't they
didn't have to worry about it.
They didn't think about it, and I was trying. So I've always been sort of balancing that out and figuring it out, and one of the ways that I do that is that I don't tour in the summer, that I don't play concerts in the summer, that I sit still in one place,
and they can be with you.
And yes, and we go to Maine as a family. And so that's as a touring performer, and I have reduced the number of performances that I do. Like, I don't do 100 shows a semester anymore. My life is different. I'm still creating and thinking about new things, and I think that that's maybe one of the things that has made me so flexible, is that even though I've done this for a long time, I don't have to continue to do it.
Correct.
And nobody really does. Yes, we may feel confined by our bills and our mortgage, and I don't mean to simplify this in any way. But
we have a choice.
We do. We always. Sometimes, and I don't mean to simplify. We do have choices. It may take 6 months. It may take 2 years. It may take 5 years to change the course of your life. And I know we're lucky. Because of that we live in North America. There's all sorts of reasons why we're lucky that I don't have to get into, that have put us. I don't think that I could have had this kind of career in another country. I don't know if the university system in an Asian country would have the funding to pay performers to come in on a regular basis.
Sure.
Or the ability to choose a college and then choose a major and then change my mind and then maybe change it back. We have a lot of flexibility in our system that not a lot of people really realize. A lot of folks who haven't traveled don't know that. That this is awesome.
It's a huge gift.
Like, we're very lucky. And until you go around the world and see the world, it's easy to not see that.
And I'm glad that you brought the world back into it, because part of your education, you traveled internationally. So you grew up in different parts of the world with your family, but then in college you chose to go overseas and study while still in college, correct?
Yeah, I actually took a year off between high school and college to go to language school in Italy, and lived with an Italian family for 10 months. And that was a challenge, because I was 18 and wanted that. So that's before I went to school and got the guitar. But it's
It was a
difficult.
new
I was in a
freedom.
country and I didn't speak the language, and I was in
And
school.
you didn't have something that you could work through.
No. And I had already graduated from high school. I'd already gotten into college, and I was sitting in school all day, and I couldn't understand what the teachers were saying. So I learned the language, and school got better. I mean, it seems.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. You can understand.
So we segued. I kind of got, and it was totally my fault because there's so many wonderful aspects of who you are as an individual.
I do appreciate that.
But let's go back to the education, because there are things that you have observed in opportunities to play music that you then took into your hat and briefcase of education and created those. So what are the topics that you focus on that are asked for the most when you're going in and working with high school leaders, college leaders, camp counselor trainings? What are because there are some that are big ticks, they're concerns, and you see it no matter where you're going, it comes up on a regular basis.
Well, the big one is communicating and working with other people. Everyone seems to have that challenge at many levels, being open to working with people with different backgrounds and different personalities, and working through problems as a team, understanding that every team will have challenges, and not quitting when you have the challenges, but to figure out a way to work through those. It's communication, really, and work. I call it working with a band, and that's the way that I frame it, is that all of your friendships and all of the groups of people you spend time with, whether it's your family is a band, and your rock and roll band is a band, and your chess club is a band, and when you see it as a band, you start to recognize the beauty of everyone's instrument that they bring to the band. And that's how I frame that with teams, and it seems to help folks overcome the need to make others more like them, and it helps them celebrate the uniqueness, the instrument that you bring to the band. Yeah. And it makes the band better when everyone is elevated for who they are and what they bring to the band. And so that is a common thing, is how to work teams, how to improve teams, how to overcome challenges as teams is a big, that's probably the number one. Yes. And there are many others, though. There are many others.
So let's hear, what are two others that come up on a regular basis?
Well, so a lot of orientation is a time of year when graduating students or non-traditional students start something brand new. And many folks don't have a clue about what they want to do. Many folks are totally sure about what they want to do. And one of the things that I help students do is understand that they don't have to know. And that if you do know, you absolutely know that it's okay to change your mind and to try something else. And that the only way to figure out what lights your fire is to get involved and to get off the couch and to go do things. So I think I get brought in a lot to talk on that topic.
And it helps that you chose to do that while you were in college. You were doing it before you went to college, but when you got there, you'd made the comment earlier, I lived in the resident halls. I learned from people because I was there. You were open to the experience because you placed yourself in that experience.
And one of the things I think when I did the opening song at the beginning of the show, I messed up. Like I messed up the phrasing of a verse.
We chuckled.
And it doesn't matter.
Right, you just keep going.
It doesn't matter, and I think that's
and it's your song.
It's a really, yes, I know the song. I know the song. I know the words of the song. I know
that's
the phrasing
why
of the song.
it's so fun when we can look at each other and chuckle, because it's like,
because
it's still great.
But we will all do that in every aspect of our life. I'm a parent, and there's no way that I'm a perfect parent. That and I sometimes drop the ball when I'm playing basketball. Like there's so many ways that applies.
But for
that
sometimes in the pressures of feeling from family and others that you have to have the answers now because they have the answers for you, that's scary. Yeah.
So messing up is a normal, or not being sure of yourself is sort of one of the good things about. I think I'm focusing on college because we're on a college campus right now, and I'm thinking about students because I'll be meeting many of them tonight. And the other you asked about what other topics, and I said the instrument idea. And really at the heart of it all is who you spend time with. Like that, so the topics, even if I go broad on a lesson, it will come back to your relationships with other people.
Who are you investing in and allowing to invest in you?
But also the oxygen part of it. You taking care of yourself so that you can be a good team member is a big part of everything. Even working with other musicians, which is
sometimes you're carrying that oxygen over your shoulder every place you go. Well, would you be willing to play another one of your originals?
Sure.
And before we do that, I do want to ask for our viewing audience, could you provide contact information? I know you're on social media, but what are your connections to the social media world?
My name, if it appears at all with words on the screen, that's any search would find Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, or my website is my name. And Jason LeVasseur is my name. I think I was lucky that I secured all those right
early
away,
on, yes.
because I was in a touring band before band websites existed, and my band website was one of the first band websites that that was on CD Baby, which is now a big platform for independent artists. So I knew as soon as I did my first solo CD that I had to get JasonLeVasseur.com, and then from that point on, I think I still have Jason LeVasseur's MySpace.
I was waiting on that.
I do. I don't know the password, but nobody else has it. So there's that. I feel very fortunate. But here's something I did do, which is interesting. If you're a parent and you're having a child, I got the websites for my children when they were born. So I have my children's names URL, so that if someday they would like to have the website, they have access. They have access. I've got it.
That's awesome.
I've got it. They don't know, but I've got their website.
They know now.
Yes, and and when they're ready to promote themselves, I'll share their names with the world. But,
sure. And so you have released 25 or 35 albums?
Oh no, 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 25 years, 18 awards. There's so many numbers. Many numbers. 13, but I guess I'm not counting the ones that I was on as a guest artist. So I don't know. I could count, but it's numbers so hard.
It's
lots of.
It's a fun life to follow.
Right.
If you want to get to know Jason LeVasseur.
Yeah, come over.
And you
chips and salsa.
Home is Nashville.
Nashville, Tennessee.
So
where it's okay to be a musician.
Yes, it is.
Where it's okay. Yeah, you're allowed to be.
And you actually have an Airbnb there too, so people can literally come on over for the chips and salsa for a small fee.
Stay in the backyard. Yeah, here I'll give you the keys to the lawnmower. It's a push mower. There are no keys, but you get it. You can mow my lawn.
So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And
it's nice to be here.
We thank you for joining also. I am Sharinda, your host, and Jason LeVasseur is going to close out the show today.
With a love song.
And we look forward to seeing you again real soon.
A rock and roll love song.
Be well.
Drip drop singing in a lover's way. You carry the light of love into the next day. And every day, Jane came calling like a lady who carries the light of love and the money in her shoe. And what would you do? Has anybody seen my parachute? Think I might be falling, how about you? Are you ready now to love? What would you do? Anybody seen my parachute? Good night, Finlay.
Good night.